One of the reasons I love high road leadership is because what I have discovered, Matt, is that when people begin to learn good values and begin to live them, learn them and live them, their life becomes more valuable. They become more valuable to themselves. They become more valuable to their community. They become more valuable to their family. They become more valuable to their organization.
Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of the GrowLeader podcast. Before we get started, we want to say a big thank you to the Wesleyan Investment Foundation. For over 80 years, Wesleyan Investment Foundation has helped churches with their borrowing and their investing needs. Maybe you're out there and you're dreaming of a new opportunity or a new building, or you're seeking wise resource management. We think WIF can help you because they help us too. You can learn more about them at wifonline/GrowLeader. Now let's get started with this episode. Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the GrowLeader podcast, where we grow leaders that grow churches by helping them reach their full potential. My name is Matt. So glad you're with us today. Usually we have my leader, Pastor Chris Hodges, with us. He's resting this month, and so we thought, what could we do to really add some more value to the June episode of the podcast? And so we brought the one and only Dr. John C. Maxwell on with us. John, how are you today?
I'm terrific, Matt. I'm just very excited about what's happening with the podcast, and I'm glad Chris is getting a little deserved rest. And hey, this is our chance to take over the podcast. You do understand that.
We can do whatever we want to do now.
I mean, Chris is gone. Let's go, baby.
Whatever happens, I'm just going to say, John wanted to do this, and he'll say, that's fine. That's great. That worked out.
And I'll say, Matt insisted on doing this. I really didn't think it was a good idea at all. Hey, if we continue doing this back and forth, we'll give a great example of high road leaders or of low road leaders instead of high road leaders.
That's exactly right. We won't do that. Do want to talk about the new book is just amazing. High road leadership, bringing people together in a world that divides, and want to dig into that in just a second. I looked up, John, I tried to decide or research how many books you've written, and I found several different sites. I couldn't count them all. I've got to know, because even before we started today, you were telling me about a trip to Cambodia and just getting back from Asia. At your level of leadership and what all you've done, if you said, hey, I'm going to dial it back a little bit, I'm going to slow down, everybody around you would say, yeah, that makes sense. You've earned this. You have this nonstop core motivation inside of you. I just got to know what that is. Help us, for those of us who are a couple of seasons of life behind you, what is the thing inside, the fire that's burning inside to continue to help people?
Well, I've always had the fire. So, I had a guy the other day, Matt. Listen, it just killed me because I've known him all his life. He's a phlegmatic. He's never really worked that hard. And he told me, he said, I'm burned out. And I called him and I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, how can you be burned out if you've never been on fire?
Wow.
I mean, dear Lord, how does that happen? So I've always been on fire. So that's inside of me. The difference is, I'm 77. I thought at this age, I would level out. Two things have happened. One is my ministry, my life, my career, it just keeps going up. I thought that there would be a natural flattening of where it, at a certain age, it just kind of goes flat or maybe even starts to go down. And I thought that's when I'll just kind of live with what I have and where we are, and I'll be very comfortable with that. So I didn't really fight it, but instead, everything in my life is going high. In fact, I'm in my greatest days of compounding right now. Which brings me to the second reason, and that is the fact that because I'm in my greatest days of compounding, I don't think it is wise for me to stop, because the greatest return is now. And
That's right.
when you can afford to quit, you can't afford to quit. I tell people, if you're going to quit the first week you work on something, because nobody knows you, nobody cares. But if you're really good, you keep compounding. And I watch people my age, they say, well, I've got enough money, or I'm going to retire or whatever, and that's fine. But what happens is if you're in a compounding stage of your life and you stop, you never know what you left on the table that could have helped people. You just don't know. What you do know, it would be huge, but you just don't even know because you stopped you took your money out of your investment. It's no longer compounding. So, and then there's some sense of urgency I have right now. Mm-hmm. Because I do have 13 books yet I want to write. I mean, I've got a book queue. I mean, it's the books are saying, write me, write me, write me. And because of my age, I find that I'm my sense of interesting enough, my sense of urgency today is probably a little bit more than it's ever been before, because I think I'm dealing with a short window, and I know it. And so I say, John, you got to, if you're going to kick it, kick it. Don't save it for a rainy day. So there's three things. And then I'm just loving what I do. I mean, I'm loving it. I've just came back from Asia. I spent almost an entire day in Cambodia with the prime minister, with his cabinet, with the deputy prime minister, with the top business people in Cambodia, the 5 wealthiest people in the country, and they're all interested in transformational leadership. And I mean, they're just hungry. In fact, their big thing was, when can you come back and do this for our country? So, I'm just blessed and very blessed and very grateful, and don't deserve any of these blessings. But right now, I seem to have a lot, and I want to be a good steward of them. I
Well,
guess. Huh?
I want to say from all of us who are watching you, thank you. I get inspired. I get inspired by your content. I'm more inspired by who you are as a person, and even you're around Highlands a lot, around Highlands College a lot. We are blessed with having you, your family to us, and so you do have the distinct honor of being the person who's been on the podcast the most as a guest. And so I want to say thank you for that. First of all,
That's my joy.
The last couple episodes we've done for our pastors and leaders that are out there. Pastor Chris has really had this fire burning in him for discipleship and evangelism. And I think when people think John Maxwell, they think leadership, but you're an evangelist. I mean, you have this evangelism fire inside of you. How did that play into this new book in teaching people how to be a high road leader?
Well, the evangelism fire is just, that if somebody said, what is the thing I love to do most? I love to reach people for Christ the most, hands down. So leadership, I've always said leadership is a cover for me to get to do what I really want to do, and that is share my faith. Last night, I had dinner with 6 people in Palm Beach, high profile people, one of the top movie producers in the world, the number one speaking agent in the world. They were players, and I had a wonderful dinner with them. All of them beautiful people. None of them have a relationship with God. And I had the most wonderful evening with them, talking to them, and they began to ask me questions, about my faith, because they know me, and I would share a little bit. And then when I got in the car with the one of the power brokers that said he wanted to drive me to the place in Palm Beach and take me home, we got in the car, and he just immediately opened up. He said, I was never brought up in church and never had any kind of faith or foundation. And he said, when I hear you talk, he says, it makes me hungry. And I was able for 15, 20 minutes to share my faith with him. And I could tell I moved him. He didn't receive Christ yet, but I moved him in that direction. He said, can we talk some more? We can talk some more. So that's the love of my life. And that's why I do everything. I mean, evangelism is my heart. It's the heartbeat and the soul. But I love leadership. And one of the reasons I love high road leadership is because what I have discovered, Matt, is that when people begin to learn good values and begin to live them, learn them and live them, their life becomes more valuable. They become more valuable to themselves. They become more valuable to their community. They become more valuable to their family. They become more valuable to their organization. And so in pre-evangelism, when people start to live good values, they're one step away from receiving Christ. They're already leaning into faith, because every value I teach is all biblically based, every one of them. So it's a good pre-evangelism time. Now, I wrote this book, High Road Leadership. Okay, I've written 90 books. Okay,
90 books,
Matt?
got it.
Now, the publishers say I've written about 120 or 30, because they'll take a major book and then they'll do derivatives off of it. And they consider that a different product, but I only consider one book. I mean, and so if this book has 3 derivatives off of it in the next 5 years, it's still just one book.
Got it.
But of all the books that I have written, this book I felt called to write, and there's a difference. I've always been called into my work, into my ministry, but I've written books that I felt would help people to be successful in life. But this book, High Road Leadership, I felt compelled to write it. In fact, I felt so compelled to write it. I had already written a book on how to receive a return on failure. I'd already written a manuscript and getting ready to give it to the publisher, and all of a sudden I realized I needed to write this book. So I literally held the manuscript back. In fact, it's ready now, but I held it back so I could write this book and get this out first, because we've got an election coming up this year, and it's going to be as ugly and as low road as you could possibly ever experience. That makes me extremely sad. In our company, we have a statement, Matt, that I think is a good statement. Everyone deserves to be led well. That's the right of people. People that are following leaders, they deserve to be led well. And we are not being led well today. We are being led by low-road leaders who are transactional, who put themselves before the people. And so I thought I need to write a book right now that helps people understand, what does a high-road leader look like? And in the book, I have 12 pictures, okay? Pictures of what does a high road leader look like. And they're the 12 chapters in the book. And the reason I did that is because people do what people see. And I learned a long time ago, if you can put a picture out in front of a person and say, this is what you're looking for, then they know what they're looking for and they can go to it. So the book is, it's a picture book, 12 pictures of what a high road leader looks like, of which you want to turn the picture into a practice. Okay, now that I see what I should do, now I've got to practice that, because practice is how we learn. And I did it for this time because I think that there needs to be an awakening among people. I think there needs to be an awakening among Christians, and I think we just need to be very serious about the message we're sending to the world. And we want to be a person. We want to be a high road leader like Jesus is. And so I wrote the book. It's just come out in the last week, and it's going bonkers. It's going crazy. And I know why it is, because when you read that subtitle, bringing people together in a world that divides. As soon as I say that, whenever I'm speaking, I'm saying, here's my newest book, High Road Leadership, Bringing People Together in the World That Divides. As soon as I say that, Matt, there is an audible response everywhere I go. I mean, it's like, because people say, yes. They immediately, when I say bringing people together in a world that divides, they immediately know we are not having the best leadership that we deserve in our country. It's the United States of America, not supposed to be the divided states of America.
Well, I think everybody sees that regardless of which aisle you stand on, which side of the aisle you stand on in politics. As and I want to be full confessional, I'm about halfway through. So I got the book, started reading, but I heard you speak. You were here with us pretty near to the time we kind of reopened as a church after COVID. So 2020.
Yes.
And I think I've watched, as you've spoken to us and even to the college and been around us, I saw some answers in the book so far. There were answers to frustrations you had even then about how divided we were and how there was just kind of a general lack of respect and empathy towards everybody. Speak to that a little bit, especially for the pastors that are listening as we move into another election season there's a standard of leadership we should all have, but as followers of Jesus, there's an even higher standard of leadership that we should 100%.
Have. You're so right on. I'm telling you, 100%. And yes, I have been frustrated. And I think in the last few years, people, when they hear me speak, they feel that frustration, because I have never felt that I'm prophetic. I've never felt that was my niche. But at this age, I think I'm seeing things that most people don't see. And I don't know, I'm not about to declare it's prophetic. I think I have wisdom that I haven't had in the past. And I think I just see a bigger picture. And what I see is that the Christian community, I think we've lost our way. We've lost our way in the area of we have put our hope, first of all, in man instead of God. And I mean, I look to some Christians, and you would absolutely think that if the right person isn't going to get elected, that the whole country is just going to go to hell in a handbasket. And I when I see that kind of an attitude and spirit, I always want to say, now wait a minute, are we not citizens of the kingdom of God? I know I'm a citizen of the United States of America, but I'm also a citizen of the kingdom of
That's
God.
great.
And I'm not only a citizen, I'm to be an ambassador. And an ambassador doesn't say what they feel. They represent the kingdom. They represent Jesus. They represent the Gospels. They don't live in a low road world that politics is in today. That's not their world. And we're just, by the way, this isn't my world. I'm passing through this world. And so when I begin to see these things from a Christian perspective, I just say to myself, what people need more than anything else is to see us as salt and light. That's what Jesus said we're to be. Salt makes things better, light makes things brighter. They need to see us. And too many Christians are making too many people angry instead of hungry.
Wow.
I do have a desire, though, for Christians to start living as Christians should live and be a high road leader like Jesus. And as you know, Chris and I are writing a book together on Jesus, the high road leader. And it's all the Gospels. In fact, I can hardly wait for Christians to read it because it's all the Gospels. It's nothing else but Jesus and the Gospels. There's no room for argument. There's no room for discussion. It's just, could we be like Jesus? Could we treat people like Jesus? I mean, he valued all people.
Yeah.
All people. Not some people, not the people that agreed with him, not the people that were politically like him, not the people that just came to church. He valued all people. He valued people that were so far from him, so unlike him, so different than him, so drastically separate in values than him, but he valued all people. And the only people, Matt, that couldn't handle it were the religious people.
Yeah.
And I'm saying we have an opportunity. We have a great opportunity to let our light shine and begin to be a positive difference. You know, quit cursing the darkness. Cursing the darkness doesn't help anybody. And let's start shining the light. And we have an opportunity. And I wanted this book to come out now, and I wanted Jesus' High Road Leader book to come out, which comes out in a couple months. Right now, because I don't want us to blow our opportunity. I think that this year is this is a little too dramatic. I want to say it's a make or break year, but I think that, okay, here's what I'm going to say. Who you vote for is not as important as how you behave.
Wow.
It's the behavior of the Christian community as the lost community is watching it that they don't understand. And go ahead.
I think about my life before Jesus, which I think changes. If we can all stop for a second and remember life before Jesus.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can remember listening to pastors, to leaders, and I would listen to a message and think, I have no doubt that Jesus loves me. I'm just not sure you do.
Bingo. Yes, 100%. That's it's like the two preachers who came to the church in consecutive Sundays, and both of them have to preach on hell. And one of the members said, the first preacher, when he preached on hell, I think he wanted to send us there. And the second one preached on hell, and he wanted to keep us from going there. And there's that attitude, I think, behind even that message. But, credibility and integrity is your actions and your words begin to really match up. And so the book is a positive picture, very clear, of how we can live the high road life and be attractive to people and make a positive difference. I am not so discouraged that I think that we cannot turn it around. But I do believe that we need to have somebody be a voice in the wilderness right now and say, listen up, we need to kind of get our act together as quickly as we possibly can.
Well, I think it's a great reminder, and even with my progress throughout the book, you have this constant theme, I think, in every one of the books that you've written that I've had a chance to read, and I haven't reached 90 yet, so I'm not there yet. I haven't read all the books. I promise I will try.
Come on, get with it.
But there's this call to personal growth in every intentional living that's a thread through all of your books. How important is the personal growth piece for us becoming high road leaders in whatever platform of leadership that we have?
Well, first of all, it's essential. You're not going to get on the high road by accident. You don't coast to the high road.
That's great.
You coast to the low road. No one has ever coasted to a desired location. When you coast, you just get what the current gave you. And you say, how did I end up here? Well, you ended up here because you weren't intentional. You didn't swim upstream, and you just basically let life take you wherever it wanted to dump you. And this is where it dumps you. And that happens to so many people so many times. And so it's a call to intentionality. Let me give you an example of this, because I think this is a good example. When I talk about high road leadership, I want to make sure everybody that's listening and watching this, that I sometimes don't travel high road, that I sometimes go down to middle road, and on some occasions I go low road. And the other day, my inner circle was talking to me because I had done a round table of which I had an edge. And when I taught that day, I taught at times like I was mad at somebody. And I had it, and they came to me and told me about it. My inner circle people talk to me. I tell me, we don't always see ourselves, and they said, John, we think today either you had an agenda or you didn't have as good a day as usual, and you were digging a little too much, and you were edgy, and I said, thank you for telling me that. I said, let me give it some thought. And so I came back to him within the next couple of days. And I said, let's talk about it a little bit more. And I gave him I said, would this be where I had the edge? And yeah, you did that. And I came to the conclusion they were really right. I had an edge, and I was wrong. There was nothing high road about that. It was middle to low road. Immediately I spent time with God and asked forgiveness. And I have a process that I go through of my own repentance. And then I called the person that was responsible for bringing the round table together for me and apologized to him. And he loves me, and he was so nice to me. And he said to me, oh, John, he said, anybody can have a bad day. Anybody. And he was starting to give me excuses. And I asked him, I said, stop, please stop, please. Yes, I have. There are 25 excuses why I was on the edge. I'm not apologizing for my excuses. I'm apologizing for my actions that there is no excuse for. And I was wrong, and I am sorry, and I repent before you. And now you have to tell me, what do I need to do to make it right? Do I need to call these other few people that were there and ask forgiveness? Do I need to give you another round table and where you can give me another shot? I said, I don't know what I need to do, but I don't know this. I was wrong, and I need your forgiveness, and I need now to know how I can do it right for you. Had a great conversation. Okay, to me, I want everybody to understand that I don't think I or anyone is a perfect high road leader, but we ought to always want to be one.
It's great.
And when we aren't a high road leader and we recognize it, like my inner circle raising their hand and saying, John, that wasn't your best day, I'm so grateful to them. I went back and thanked them. And because of, but I wanted to get right back to the high road again. So to me, I don't expect us to all be perfect high road leaders, but I do expect us all to want to be one.
Right.
I expect us all to call out. I expect you to call me out if I'm not a high road leader. I would do the same for you, man. I think we ought to be helping one another live the road that we ought to be living, and that Jesus lived all the time. And so I just wanted to give that illustration because it's one of many that I can give. But I don't want anybody to think that I think that I'm perfect and I always do it right, and I don't. But when I get off the high road, my first response is, I got to get back. I got to get back. And I want us to live on it. And when we get off of it, I want us to want to get back. And if people will read High Road Leadership, if this will make you hungry to live the high road life, then my reason for writing the book, Matt, has been fulfilled.
Great.
Because it's kind of like, let me give you the picture and let me get you in a place of hunger where you say, that's the kind of leader I want to make and be. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you know, we love practical steps around here. I think a great practical step for every leader listening to this is, do you even have an inner circle that can come and tell you, hey, today wasn't great? And that's a great place. The middle of the year, it's the month of June. It's a great time to reevaluate everything. Are you where you thought you would be 6 months into the year of 2024 in the personal development piece? Hey, I want to say again, so thankful for the book and just the way. Honestly, I'm thankful for John. I'm thankful for who you are and how you continue to give it everything you've got to help all of us. Tell us a little bit, because you mentioned this. If you missed it, if you're listening, you missed this. Dr. John C. Maxwell and Pastor Chris Hodges have a book coming out together. It's a companion book to a High Road Leadership. Tell us a little more about it. And it's coming in the fall, so you guys are going to have to wait for it. But I know Pastor Chris is super excited about it, about how it complements and helps High Road Leadership.
I am thrilled that, really, I'll tell you what, Chris and I were together on New Year's Day. And I was talking to him about this book, High Road Leadership, and asking him questions, and he was kind of giving me his thoughts. And it all of a sudden hit me. I said, Chris, we need to write a book on Jesus, the high road leader, and let Christians really, again, get into the Gospels and follow the footsteps of Jesus. And I said, will you help me write it? He said, sure. Now, what we did in that one, there are 12 pictures in this book on high road leadership. We took 8 of the 12.
Right.
And so it's a smaller book. And Chris wrote on 4, and I wrote on 4 as the Gospels teach us about Jesus, the high road leader. And I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited about it because I do believe that people love Jesus when they get back into that thinking of how he lived. I think it's going to really be a time of renewal for a lot of Christ followers. I think it'll be a time. And so I'm very excited about the book, and Chris did a great job. And he's a high road leader.
Yeah.
And so he has credibility in that area, and I do my best to have credibility too. So we love doing the project and worked hard on it, and we've sent the manuscript to the publisher, and it will come out a few months from now, and I think the people are going to enjoy this. I also think this book is a mentoring book. If I would encourage people to have a team to get this book and say, let's try to walk the path that Jesus walked. Remember about, well, I'm looking at you. You could remember this. You're not that, you're young, but you're not that. Do you remember in the 1990s when we had the bracelet, What Would Jesus Do?
I remember it, yes.
Do you remember, WWDJ? Well, this book is going to get us a different kind of bracelet. We're not going to ask, what would Jesus do? This book is going to be, do what Jesus did.
That's great.
We don't need to ask ourselves. We're not making a decision. Just, could you do what Jesus did? Could you just walk this high road? And so I'm very excited. But one more thing, and when, as you know, everything I teach on leadership is from the Bible. Everything. Right. I just package it so that when I go into the secular world, I don't have scripture verses, and so they don't have any clue. But everything, in my Maxwell Leadership Bible, everything I've ever taught on leadership, every book I've ever written on leadership, it's all from the Bible. In fact, in my Maxwell Leadership Bible, in the back, it has 600 leadership lessons in it. But in the back, I take my secular books, and I take those same principles, and I put scriptures with them. So people can even biblically kind of even know where I got those truths. So this is a book for everybody. This is a book for America, okay, and anyone else that's having a problem with high leadership. And then, of course, Jesus coming behind it. That'll be one for the Christian community too.
Well, look, you promised on the GrowLeader podcast that you have 13 more books in you, and so that'd put us at 103 by your count. And so
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the next 13. But I want to say, on behalf of Pastor Chris, on behalf of him, we're grateful for you. So thankful to have you on the Grow Leader podcast today. And I need you to guarantee right now you'll come back and be with us again.
Well, I feel like I'm part of the Highlands family. I
Right.
really do. I mean, every time I'm with all of you, I feel right at home, and I love Chris's leadership, and I love not only what's happening in the church, but what's happening at Highlands College. I'm a financial supporter to that, and a board member of the college, and very, very proud of it. And I'm not a board member of anything else. That's not my desire to be a board member, but I do it for him because I believe so much in Highlands College. And Matt, you do such a great job partnering up with him on the podcast. And thanks for having me. And I'm family, so if you need something, holler. But until then, I think I'll get busy doing something else.
That's right. You've probably got another big trip coming up soon. Hey, thank you again. I want to thank everybody who's watching, who's with us today. Maybe you're listening to us, you're in your car or on an exercise bike. You're finished. You did a great job. You worked out. You can be done now. We'll have all of the links to all the resources we talked about at the show notes. You can go to growleader.com/podcast. As always, if you have any questions about the podcast, including upcoming regional dates, Denver, Cleveland, and Miami, we are coming to you in the fall. We would love to see you soon. Go to growleader.com or just email us at info@growleader. We'll see you next time on the Grow Leader podcast. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And also, I want to give a big thank you to all of the partners that help make the Grow Leader podcast happen. Our newest partner, Studio C, can help you know your people and grow your church. They combine strategy, technology, and communications to maximize church member engagement. Bridge the engagement gap and transform your church's impact with Studio C. You can learn more about them at thestudioc.org/growleader. For over 70 years, Compassion International has served vulnerable children in the name of Jesus. Through the power of the local church, they have impacted over 2.2 million children worldwide. Learn more about how you and your church can partner with them at compassion.com/growleader.